So welcome back to part 2 of insurance inspections and how I do my wind protocol. So this is going to be very similar to how we do the hail inspection in the fact that the elevation photos are going to be taken in the same way. One of the big differences is how we actually do the roof inspection on the roof itself. So just to do a recap for y'all, when it comes to doing the elevation photos, more things I'm going to be looking for as wind is just stuff that's typically falling off or stuff that appears to be ripped off. One really important thing that homeowners need to do, especially after a hurricane, tornado, really fast straight line winds, is make sure you keep anything that is damaged on the property, because if you throw it away and you can't document it, there's no way to technically prove that it was there before unless you took pictures of your home, which I encourage everybody to do probably around the first of the year. That way you can make sure that the adjuster can account for it. Or make sure once it's properly documented, or you're going to buy a new one, that you keep receipts for it. This is all stuff they're also going to go over when you do the process of actually filing a claim with your insurance company. So when I'm doing the walk around, I'm going to step back. I'm going to make sure to get the mailbox in the photo and then have the home in the background. That way I can prove which property I'm on. And then I'm going to start at the front, work left to right, right to left, doesn't matter, making sure I'm documenting anything that looks like it was potentially damaged by wind, anything the homeowner personally noticed, or anything that I may have noticed that maybe they didn't, and I just want to go ahead and document. Biggest thing you can never do is over document. You can take stuff out after you've had that discussion with the homeowner and he says or she says, no, that was like that prior to, I don't want to come at them for anything that wasn't legitimately damaged. So siding, shutters, window screens, there's so many more things that can be potentially damaged from, let's say, a hailstorm versus a wind, especially if it's a hurricane, because that's going to just do a lot of damage, and a lot of things aren't wind rated very, very high, especially if you're away from the coast. Again, once I get done with the front, I'm going to start working my way around the property. Front first, left side, repeat the process, rear, repeat the process, right side, repeat the process. It doesn't matter which direction you go. Just make sure you ask the homeowner to make sure they have any dogs and make sure the fence is unlocked. That way you can actually have a smooth process going around the property. Now, when it comes to getting up on the roof, again, I'm going to climb up the ladder. I'm going to stop at the eave. I'm going to pull out my shingle gauge. I'm going to find out what year the shingle is, whether it's a laminate or a 3-tab, 20-25 year, 30 or 40 year. And then one thing I like to do to kind of cover my own butt as a contractor, especially if maybe it's not a huge wind event, but just some straight line winds. If I see anything that's kind of questionable from the ladder, I'll explain to you in one of my other videos about the chances of vandalism and how exactly that works. I'm immediately going to start recording before I even get on that roof. Once I get up there, I'm going to walk all the way around, record the whole video, pause that video, and then start my thorough inspection, because unfortunately, as I've posted in another video, vandalism when it comes to wind damage is kind of prominent, unfortunately, and I want to make sure that I don't get wrapped up in all that, and the way I do that is by shooting a video beforehand. That way it's time-stamped, and it's a good tip for a lot of other roofing contractors too if you're kind of unsure who has been up there prior to. Or maybe the homeowner doesn't notice, or maybe this was something that occurred before they even came into the house, so there's no way they could have known who was up there before. So when it comes to inspecting the shingles, it's going to be a little bit different than hail. You don't necessarily do test squares. When it comes to wind, safely of course, you want to mark out every single shingle that is damaged. And what do I mean by damaged? I mean it's creased, missing, or in some cases even torn at really high wind speeds. And the way you mark that with a piece of chalk is you just scratch it across it. You need to do that for every single facet. So facet is another word for slope, but the reason I say facet is because wind damage is different than hail in an insurance company's eyes. What do I mean by that? So when you do a test square for hail and you find enough hail in that test square, that represents all the front slopes on the roof. When it comes to wind, if this roof is not connected to this roof, and even though it's a part of the same house, this facet is counted differently than this facet. So even if this has 50% wind damage and this one only has 3 shingles, there's a good chance they might ride to repair this slope while they might ride to replace this slope. So it's important when you do wind to inspect every single part of the roof, and you have to mark up every single part and actually mark individual slopes and get the counts. When you're documenting the counts, it's important that you take a close-up of each individual shingle if you can. If it's 30 plus, and that may not be necessary for that slope, but you want to make sure you're documenting as much of the legitimate damage as you can, and then also the count. And then once you have that, you're going to continue to move on to each slope. Once that's done, I like to go a little above and beyond, take my overviews again, post-inspection, and then also get a count of all the components. This helps the insurance company, speeds it up when the adjuster comes out to do the inspection. And two, I want to make sure I have an accurate account of everything on that roof that may need to get replaced during the actual roof replacement. Another thing we like to do is while we're up there, if there's anything we notice that is not necessarily roof related or something I can deal with, I'm just going to go ahead and document it. And that way I can just build a little bit of trust by showing that to them. So hope this has been super helpful. When it comes to wind damage, I do want to say most insurance companies are not going to outright buy a roof on wind unless you have more than 50% of the shingles damaged, or you have pretty prevalent wind damage, but the roof is very, very old. Most people don't want to deal with that fight because the honest truth is if a 3-tab shingle and it's over about 12 to 15 years, it becomes very hard to replace without damaging the shingles around it, making it unrepairable. Laminate shingles is going to have to get a little bit older. I would say more like 15 to 18 before you can't repair it. And that's just due to the shingle getting very brittle. Most insurance companies recognize this process. But there is something I want to add because this is something I see a lot and I don't like, which is when a roof is very old and it has maybe 5 shingles across the whole roof that are damaged, and roofing contractors convince you that we can get this thing bought on repairability alone. That's not an avenue that you want to go to. Number one, it's going to be a massive headache for you, and I would say 90% of the time it's not going to work out in your favor because insurance companies aren't stupid and they know what you're trying to do, and you should never do that purely based on the fact that you think a roof is unrepairable. If it has heavily prevalent wind damage and it is in fact also non-repairable, then sure, that may work in your favor. And then they're having leaks and it's just time and there's nothing they can do about it, then that's something else that's different in its entirety. Let me repeat myself, never let a roofer convince you to file a claim on 5 or 6 wind crease shingles. There are temporary repairs that can be made a lot of the time until you need to get that roof replaced yourself. And unfortunately, insurance is not always the solution. Roofing is a part of your home that needs to be upkept and maintained. And sometimes you have to pay out of pocket, where we can help you. Hope this video has been super helpful to homeowners, to other roofing contractors as well. This way, whenever a contractor comes down after an inspection and showing you all the photos, you kind of know what you're looking for and you can tell if it's claim worthy. Thanks, guys.